The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.
What's up? In the news. Unfortunately, one of the greats of the time, the one and only Pharaoh Sanders, has transitioned. Pharaoh Sanders, born Pharaoh Sanders, October 13th, 1940 through September 24th, 2022, was an American jazz saxophonist known for his overblowing harmonic and multiphonic techniques on the saxophone, as well as his use of sheets of sound. Sanders played a prominent role in the development of free jazz and spiritual jazz through his work as a member of John Coltrane's group in the mid-1960s, and later through his solo work. He released over 30 albums as a leader and collaborated extensively with Leon Thomas and Alice Coltrane, among others. Saxophonist Ornette Coleman described him as probably the best tenor player in the world. Sanders' take on spiritual jazz was rooted in his inspiration in religious concepts such as karma and tawhid, and his rich meditative aesthetic. This style was seen as a continuation of Coltrane's work on albums such as Love Supreme as a result. Sanders was considered to have been a disciple of Coltrane, or as Albert Ehler said, Train was the father, Pharaoh was the son, I am the Holy Ghost. May it rest in peace. Ashe.
Ashe. Sounds like he had a storied career, and seen as one of the best in the world. That's impressive. Another loss to our community. Gangsta's Paradise rapper Coolio dead at age 59. Coolio, known for massive 1990s hip-hop hits like Fantastic Void, See You When You Get There, 1, 2, 3, 4, Something New, and Dangerous Minds movie theme Gangsta's Paradise has died of a suspected cardiac arrest, according to TMZ. He was 59 years old. The West Coast rapper, whose real name is Artist Leon Ivy Jr., is survived by his 6 children. Rest in paradise, Coolio.
Yep, rest in paradise, brother. Devil in detail of South Africa's 8.5 billion climate funding. Offer was more complicated than expected. Environment Minister. Negotiators target progress announcement at COP27 talks. A proposal by wealthy nations to mobilize 8.5 billion for South Africa to help reduce its dependence on coal has proved more complex than anticipated, which has stalled its implementation. The money was offered to South Africa at United Nations climate talks in Glasgow last year under a deal that was seen as a possible blueprint for the helping other coal-reliant developing countries transition using cleaner energy. Details of the types of financing that will be made available and the terms and conditions attached to it are still being hashed out, along with South Africa's investment plans, said Barbara Creasy, the nation's environment minister. South Africa uses coal to generate more than 80% of its electricity and is the world's 13th biggest emitter of greenhouse gases. With the country facing record blackouts this year and a number of its coal-fired plants approaching retirement age, additional generating capacity is urgently needed along with the money to finance it. Negotiators are discussing what proportion of the climate funding pledged by the US, UK, Germany, France, and European Union last year will be the form of concessional loans and grants. John Kerry, the US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, said progress is up to the South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa. South Africa envisions a large part of the agreed funding going to state-owned power utility Eskom Holdings SOC Limited, which is working on plans to repurpose its older coal-fired power plants to produce renewable energy and expanding the power grid. The government also wants consideration to be given to directing money towards developing an electric vehicle industry and green hydrogen projects, Creasy said. Yeah, this is very interesting. I'm always curious, especially countries outside of the US and in particular countries in Africa, why they don't have their own internal funding source. You know, why are they always going outside of not only just their countries within the African continent, but literally outside the continent itself to look for funding. Like, I'm like, what, you guys don't have your own internal economy? I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, we ask that question every time we read one of these stories. Hopefully they can get it all figured out. Iranian women burned their hijabs as hundreds protest death of Mahsa Amini. The death last week of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who was arrested in Tehran by morality police, a dedicated unit that enforces strict dress codes for women, such as wearing a compulsory headscarf, has sparked an outpouring of anger over issues ranging from freedoms in the Islamic Republic to the crippling economic impacts of sanctions. The protests are striking for their scale, ferocity, and rare feminist nature. The last demonstrations of this size were 3 years ago after the government hiked gas prices in 2019. After starting Saturday at Amini's funeral, Iran Kurdistan province, the demonstrations have swept much of the country, leading to clashes with security forces trying to quell them. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, made no mention of the protests during a speech on Wednesday to veterans and military commanders commemorating the Iran-Iraq War from 1980 to 1988.
Wow. Actually,
Morality release, huh?
Yeah, this is just nuts, man. Do you want me to play that video about Julius Malema about the coal mines, or should we just skip all that?
Oh yeah, we're still close enough. I'd say give it a go.
Okay, so this is regarding that 8.5 billion.
Maybe this will help us understand a little better.
Yeah, maybe. Shout out to Julius Malema. Okay, here we go.
President of South Africa went to international conferences and signed an agreement that South Africa will do away with coal. We will no longer use coal, meaning all those mines in Mpumalanga that have created both economic and job opportunities for our people are going to be closed. Yet, you've got a province of the ANC in Mpumalanga which survives through coal, create economy, create jobs out of coal. Go and meet and say, we want this president who wants to close our mines for the second term. Because indeed, we want this president to close these mines so that the communities of Mpumalanga can suffer. When you talk about Johannesburg and Gauteng, it is Johannesburg because of the discovery of gold. When you talk about Kimberley, it is the discovery of diamond. When you talk about Cape Town, it is because of the beauty of its nature and natural resources. So a city is built out of either natural resources or mineral resources.
There you go.
Like I said, hopefully they get it all figured out.
All right. Speaking of trying to figure things out, Hurricane N. Hurricane N moved across the Florida peninsula overnight. The storm dumped a foot of rain on some cities, caused severe flooding, and knocked out power for millions of people across the state. N became a tropical storm earlier this morning, but the downgrade doesn't mean the danger has passed. The storm is expected to bring strong winds, heavy rains, and storm surge in Florida, Georgia, and Carolinas over the next few days. N embodies several of the major hurricane trends in recent years as the world copes with the effects of climate change. It's a strong storm, and strong storms are becoming more common in the Atlantic Ocean as its surface water has warmed. N also rapidly transformed from a relatively weak storm into a strong one, another phenomenon that has become more common, and N is poised to drop large amounts of rain, which combined with higher sea levels could cause damaging floods. So it looks like it's going to be crazy. So that looks like that storm is not finished.
Yeah, prayers out in Florida. Dem stuffed ballots in reparations for Black farmers. Stuffed billions in reparations for Black farmers in Inflation Reduction Act. And this is for September 26, 2022. The Democrats' massive climate spending and tax bill gave the Department of Agriculture, USDA, $2.2 billion in loans to pay farmers, many of whom are Black, who have previously been denied USDA loans due to discrimination. The provision, which was backed by Democratic Sins, Cory Booker of New Jersey and Raphael Warnock of Georgia, is intended to provide financial assistance to farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners that the department determines to have experienced discrimination in USDA farm lending programs before January 1st, 2021. According to the bill's text, although the funding could go to any farmer that the government has discriminated against, such as white women or members of the LGBTQ community. The money is primarily intended to rectify the historic denial of loans to Black farmers, according to the Wall Street Journal. Related story, if you're interested in searching on the Daily Caller, is that Democrats' climate bill could pay farmers not to grow food. So you get paid to grow food or to not grow food. Sounds like a win-win. Moving on, another one of the bill's provisions will allocate $3.1 to help farmers of any race who are facing financial hardships and also have a direct or guaranteed loan with the USDA. Democrats quietly abandoned their original plan in August to give $4 billion to Black farmers as part of the March 2021 COVID relief bill after white farmers filed a lawsuit against the funding, saying it was unconstitutional to exclude white farmers based on race, according to Bloomberg Law.
That's why lineage is so important.
Definitely.
Millions of eligible families did not receive monthly child tax credits, while more than 1 million ineligible taxpayers did. The Internal Revenue Service failed to send $3.7 billion in monthly child tax credit payments to 4.1 million eligible taxpayers last year, according to an audit released Tuesday by the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. At the same time, the IRS sent more than 1.1 billion to 1.5 million taxpayers who should not have received the monthly installments, the audit found. Even before it sent any payments last year, the IRS repeatedly said that launching a new program to deliver the monthly payments to tens of millions of families would be a challenge. Setting up the monthly payment system in such a short period of time was a significant undertaking, the Inspector General's office said. The vast majority of payments were made correctly. Incorrect payments were typically corrected when taxpayers filed their 2021 returns this year. The IRS sent families a reconciliation letter, as required by legislation, that identified how much they received in monthly installments, which they needed to use when preparing their returns. The Inspector General's office plans to continue monitoring the reversals of the incorrect payments.
Wow, what a cluster. I mean, reminiscent of the Brett Favre situation. Take from the eligible and give to the ineligible.
Boom.
And now people who were ineligible, it sounds like they're going to be asking for that money back. I mean, even though it might have showed up in their accounts and they, it's nothing that they asked for, and now they're going to be asked to repay it when it's probably already spent.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying bills,
Right, and if money shows up in your account and you don't know that you're in the wrong in taking this money, and now they're going to be asking you back. And like I said, what a cluster. Okay, speaking of clusters, manhunt continues for suspect in Oakland school shooting that injured 6. This article, I put this slide together this morning. So at the time, the article was 2 hours old. A manhunt continued Thursday for a gunman who opened fire at an Oakland school complex, injuring 6 people, including a student. The shooting at the King Estate campus along Fontaine Street in East Oakland occurred around noon Wednesday, sending students and staff from 3 schools fleeing classrooms and prompting a massive police response. 6 people, all adults, were taken to local hospitals with gunshot wounds. 2 of the victims were in critical condition, officials said. One of the victims' family members spoke to NBC Bay Area Wednesday night and said their loved one was a student who was shot several times and is currently fighting for his life. One other victim was also in critical condition. Rudsdale High School, Bay Tech Charter School, and Sojourner Truth Independent Study remained closed Thursday, and it was unknown when the schools would reopen. Counselors would be available on campus when the schools resumed classes, district officials said. The shooting happened just as students were about to be released for the day. Students heard gunfire and described chaos when a voice on the PA system announced a lockdown. Some dove under desks and others tried to barricade doors. A parent told NBC Bay Area tensions have been building at the campus for months, saying a student was stabbed and pistol whipped on campus a month ago. Oakland police were searching for at least one shooter, but said the suspects may be involved. Other suspects may be involved. It's unclear if the shooting was targeted or random. There have been more than 130 school shootings this year. Just a really sad state of affairs.
That is sad.
Yeah.
California governor signs laws to boost housing production. This is in regards to the AB Affordable, I think it's 2011 Affordable Housing and High Road Jobs Act, and the SB 6, which is a Local Planning, Housing, and Commercial Zone Act. They've become a familiar sight along with wide commercial corridors of America, empty buildings once filled by big retailers who have closed their doors, in part because many of their customers shop online. Now, 2 new laws in California would let developers build housing on that land and largely prevent revenue-hungry local governments from stopping them. Governor Gavin Newsom signed 2 laws Wednesday that would open up much of the state's commercial land for residential development. It's a long-sought victory for affordable housing advocates who say such sites are ready-made for apartments because they are often near populated areas and come with ample parking. This is a moment on a journey to reconcile the original sin of the state of California, and that's the issue of housing and affordability. Newsom said in San Francisco before signing the bill into law, "We need to all be a little bit more accountable to this crisis of affordability." Local government officials say the laws undermine their authority and upend years of careful planning that reflect community preferences. But there's also a financial consequence, they say, because stores generate more property taxes for local governments than homes do. One popular idea in recent years has been to override local laws about where housing can be built. Housing advocates complain that local governments are often content to let commercial buildings sit vacant for years, sometimes for decades, hoping for a replacement that will generate more property taxes, rather than change the law to allow housing there. The new laws reflect a compromise between labor unions and housing developers. Some labor unions, including the powerful State Building and Construction Trades Council of California, had insisted that legislation should require a skilled and trained workforce to build the housing. That means a certain percentage of workers would have participated in a state-approved apprenticeship program. But housing developers argue there aren't enough workers available to meet that standard, which could make some projects difficult to complete. The solution was to give home builders a choice. The bill that requires affordable housing does not require a skilled and trained workforce, while the bill that doesn't require affordable housing does require one.
Looks like the NIMBYs are at it again, not in my neighborhood. I mean, part of the article mentions the years in planning. As we know, they put these policies in place. Looking at years down the line, how that's going to affect people. So looks like Governor Gavin Newsom is putting a wrench in their plans, and we need more affordable housing in California, period.
Absolutely. I know, he mentioned original sin. I think we all know what that original sin
Yeah, we
is.
know
And
what the
that's,
original sin is here in
yeah.
California and everywhere in America. He also mentioned that this years in the planning, wrinkle in their plan, mentioned about the community, how the community input. Now, I read about that in the reparations interim report, how the community was able to say what they wanted to happen in their community. Is that, and it was just a way to discriminate against people and keep them out of their neighborhoods. Of course, the white community was voting against any low income housing next door. So it was, just the fox watching the hen house type of situation.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why it's so important that eventually, we have this Freedmen's Bureau, affairs be set up, this agency, just to make sure that one, these resources are allocated correctly and with accountability, and also, to get Black people working, because they're talking about, there's not enough skilled and trained work. What?
Yeah,
Man, there are plenty of brothers and sisters.
Exactly. There's plenty of people to do this.
Yeah, I don't know what y'all talking
a little
about.
bit of training. I mean, so they just excuse after excuse, just get it done.
Yeah, shout out to Booker T. Washington, because it was about hammering nails and concrete. So let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen, fam.
All right, so I guess
speaking of making it happen, California Reparations Task Force LA meeting, public comments get heated. The 9-member California Task Force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans convened in Los Angeles at the California Science Center for its 10th meeting on September 23rd and 24th. The meeting opened with comments from the public, with speakers passionately delivering their views on what reparations should look like. Many focused their comments and opinions on who should and should not receive reparations. The opposing views created tension among those in the audience on the issue that the task force resolved months ago. Quote, I think it's a good thing. We have a lot of passion in our community, and reparations speak to the core of what makes Black Americans. I wouldn't expect anything less, end quote, said Chad Brown, a member of the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, NAASD-LA, and Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, CJEC. Quote, this is the process. I expect a lot of passion. It's passion directed at finding solutions, end quote, Brown told California Black Media. The temperature in the room rose when Kevin Cosney, Associate Director of the California Black Power Network, CBPN, addressed the task force members and said that a majority of members made a problematic decision in excluding people such as Africans enslaved in the Caribbean, Native Americans, and persons from the continent of Africa. And this article was published September 29th, written by our colleague in crime, Antonio Harvey. So yeah, you were there. What do you think, Yamoya? Tensions in the room?
Very much so. Okay, I was silent. Yeah, no. Yeah, I was silent for a reason. Yeah, it was unfortunate that if you could see in the picture, standing next to the wonderful chair, Camila Moore, is a person that I've had the opportunity to speak with and have a discussion and interview with. His name's Les Robinson, and I invited him to come to hopefully say his public comment. So he waited in line along with like so many other people to say their public comment, and unfortunately the task force decided to not, for those who haven't seen the clip yet, to shut down the public comments. And he has a very powerful story about his ancestor, who was one of the first freedmen, if we're going to call us that, to actually establish a church right here in California. He was one of the first people to establish the church. St. Andrews, it's up here located in Northern California. And he wasn't able to speak. And it really sucked because of that, disturbance that happened. It is what it is, but, we got to keep pushing. He's actually going to be interviewed, and it'll probably most likely make the cut in the final edit of the Reparations Now story. So we will be able to hear his story in there. But yeah, it was just an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, like you said, we did have a chance to interview him in the mass media for the documentary Reparations Now. So definitely look for that. And that was the downside of all that passion and emotions running so high, is that we missed out on a lot of valuable testimony from the community that day.
All right, California Reparations Task Force says descendants of the enslaved potential owed extreme amount. Study says, estimating a potential hundreds of thousands of dollars, a California Task Force report examining reparations to be paid to California's Black descendants of enslaved Africans show the costs are high. California's 9-member task force worked with a team of economic experts to describe reparation compensation for the pervasive racial discrimination and infliction of pain and suffering on Black Americans who were enslaved and systemically disenfranchised after being granted freedom from chattel slavery. According to the Los Angeles Daily Times, the task force voted in March that should California make some form of reparations available, they should go to Black Californians who can prove their lineage is traced to enslaved ancestors, rather than to those who are more recent immigrants or descendants of recent immigrants. What form the reparations could take is still being worked out. Cash, grants, tuition assistance, loans, or other financial programs are all being considered according to the task force.
Yeah, so exactly, extreme amounts are owed. Getting down to brass tacks at these reparations task force hearings, bringing in the economists who are crunching the numbers on what that would look like. So definitely stay tuned for more updates on that, fam. All right. Out here in Sacramento, we're having an increase in violent shootings, it seems, unfortunately. 4 dead in 3 shootings throughout Sacramento, police say. Sacramento, California. Sacramento police said 3 separate shootings between Monday night and Tuesday morning ended with 4 people dead. According to police, 3 of the killings happened around 11 p.m. Monday. One of the shootings happened on San Juan Road near Brandon Way. Police said officers arrived and found 2 people in a car suffering from gunshot wounds. One of the men died at the scene, the other died at the hospital. The other killing took place near Eleanor Avenue and Arcade Boulevard. According to police, there was an altercation between an unknown number of people. The altercation ended with one person being fatally shot. The 4th killing happened Tuesday around 9 a.m. on 6th Avenue near Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Police said officers at the scene found one person with at least 1 gunshot wound. First responders took the person to the hospital, but the victim was later pronounced dead. The series of deaths come after a shooting early Sunday morning that left 1 person dead in Midtown Sacramento. A suspect in that shooting has been arrested. According to police, the shootings are not related. There is no information about the other shooters. So as you can see from this story, at least the portion that I clipped up for our purposes, there's no mention of the suspects. We don't know who did what, don't know what's going on. You really have to go down the rabbit hole to find out any information. So I clicked on this one that says that the one suspect has been arrested. Of course, I want to know who that could be. click on that, it takes me to another story. One person arrested in connection with deadly Midtown shooting. Sacramento, California again. A man is under arrest in connection with a deadly shooting that took place in Midtown Sacramento early Sunday morning. The Sacramento Police Department said. Police said Michael Escobar, 23, was arrested in West Sacramento with the help of Yolo County Regional SWAT team. So, Michael Escobar, I mean, we don't know anything about this person. Hopefully it's an isolated event. Good thing they got him. But yeah, it would be nice to know who these suspects are. Get more information in these articles to keep us safe. I mean, I'm sitting in a building on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard right now, so that really hit close to home.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate.
Very.
All right. Okay, for those that don't know, this is an article basically, or a clip that's based on life cycle of a bill. So how does it happen? The legislature functions to create laws that represent the best interests of the citizen with each legislative district. Proposals for new laws are called bills. To become a law, a bill must successfully pass through a number of steps highlighted in the tabs below. The bill then goes to the governor. The governor has three choices. He or she can sign the bill into law, allow it to become law.
And before you continue reading, Yamori, sorry to interrupt. So there were more information about the cycle of the bill as it going through the Assembly and the Senate, appropriations, all those committees. But we just skipped to the governor portion, so you could hear how that process goes, because there's a very important bill on the governor's desk right now, and we just want everybody to be aware how this process works as we await, updates on 2296. Go ahead, Yamori. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that is correct. So, as Kim was saying, there's actually a previous process where it has to go through legislation, the House, the Senate, and eventually gets to the governor's desk. All right, so here we go. All right. Allow it to become law without his or her signature, or veto it. Normally, the governor has 12 days after receiving a bill to decide to sign or veto it, or a bill will become law automatically without his or her signature. However, the governor has 30 days to make this decision on bills submitted to him or her when the annual winter recess is near at hand. A governor's veto can be overridden by a 2/3 vote in both houses. If a bill presented to the governor contains one or several items of appropriation, he or she may eliminate or reduce any or all of them while approving the other portions of the bill, known as the line item veto. The items then may be separately reconsidered, and the vetoes sustained or overridden in the same manner as bills which have been vetoed in their entirety by the governor. The legislature has 60 calendar days to act upon the veto. Most bills, whether signed by the governor or passed as a result of an override, go into effect on January 1st of the next year. Urgency measures take effect immediately upon being signed by the governor and chaptered by the Secretary of State. Urgency bills affect the public peace, health, or safety and require a 2/3 vote for passage.
Yeah, so, the fact whether he signs a bill or not, it can go into law. I found that very, very interesting. So that's why it's important, this call to action that CJEC has out on its Twitter pages and out there across all social media channels to get Governor Gavin Newsom to veto 2296. So it is definitely a veto that we want, because if he just ignores it, it becomes a law anyway.
Yeah. Very true. Well, I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it for In the News. Until next time, fam.
All right, until next time. See you then.
The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.